A very warm welcome to a new episode of Melt. I'm Ritvika Gupta. This week we are continuing our coverage of women in advertising and film production. Today we will be bringing you two such conversations, starting with Sohini Dasgupta, ad filmmaker and founder Big Momma Productions, an agency that specializes in work for the beauty, luxury and fashion space. Let's get ready to melt with Sohini Dasgupta.
Morning, Sohini.
Good morning, Anand.
So, it's that time of the year when we talk about women and, the women in the workplace and so on. And, starting today, we want to make this a continuous dialogue. So, you and a few other directors are going to be the first in this conversation. So, I wanted to ask you, you've achieved whatever you've achieved. You've become an independent film director, producer in your own right. Do you think it would have been easier for you and faster for you had you been a man?
Absolutely not. Actually, I have always kind of followed what my heart has said. And from actually choosing the way I started my life, I went to an art school, like an applied art school. So from choice of subjects itself, like from graduation, I chose to do what I did, and I did it organically, and I grew organically absolutely with it. So whether it's campus recruitment to taking the leap. So I started by selling cigarettes when cigarette was still allowed to be kind of advertised. I did insurance, I did banks then, but I thought that my calling was in things which were more aesthetically dialed. So I followed my calling. I started doing beauty and fashion, which was all from within. So I don't think gender has anything to do with it. It was pretty much my journey, my trajectory, the way I followed my heart's calling, and whatever I've achieved because of that. Because I did what I loved doing. So Lakme was, I would say, a great platform for me. That was a full dialed up sensorial space where I could work with textures, colors, women, a conversation which allowed me to express every bit of all the skill sets that I had, mind wise and otherwise, because I like telling stories which are very, very visually high stimulus. So that's how I kind of chose the path. And I realized that I was working with too many foreign directors, and why not? I felt I had the skill set. So I took the jump, and yes, here I am. I don't think gender has anything to do with it.
Sure.
I just followed my path and reached where, and was I given the kind of seats and the opportunities at the right time? Yes. I don't feel that it has got anything to do with gender.
In your pre-entrepreneurial career, when you were in advertising, uh, did you find organizations uh, from a gender point of view coming in the way of your growth? Did you ever experience that or feel that?
No, yet again, like I had actually a batchmate from college who was like a boy, and we grew pretty much together. In some steps, I grew ahead of him, and it was the same set of bosses who were kind of weighing out our strengths, and it was pretty much meritocracy. I didn't see it in my uh, path, at least. Like the people I've worked with, Balki, Piyush, like I started with Bates, like Clarion, and then I went on to Ogilvy, and then to Low, and finally to Publicity. So also maybe because I had a different kind of skill set, which was very design and very like was I was slightly kind of specialized kind of a space. So I didn't feel it ever.
Is that because of you as a person? Or is it because the organizations truly were,
I,
were,
is it
were neutral?
I was not watching out. I was doing my own lovely things. Like I was making miniature sets, shooting. Chroma, for instance, used to be one of my clients, and while I was in Low, and I was very engrossed in my work. So I was not looking. I was giving everything my best. So I was not looking out to see who is growing, who is not, because uh, the kind of work I did needed 100% investment from me, mind and soul. So it was something like, and every brief which came to me, I wanted to kind of do it differently. And that was the time investment I was putting in. So I didn't feel it, at least in my growth path. I never felt it. I was celebrated in ways and manners where when it was due, whether it's clients, internally, maybe it's me, maybe I just looked at the right things or the wrong things. I don't know what I was doing, but I felt good while I was in the agency, and now I feel super good because I'm my own boss. So I think organically grew, didn't have any glitches per se
Right.
or any rude memory or can't recall.
Right. This morning I was talking to two women who started or represent an organization which is dealing with women in advertising. And one of the things they spoke about was uh, the number of women who enter the business, which obviously will impact the number of women who can reach the top posts. So, in your area, that is the film production business, uh, do you have a gender equality numerically or tending to equal? If so, why? And if not, why not?
Not even close, because I think we are late starters. And while I was in the agency, the top names that always came to the table were of obviously male directors. We had producers that time, like Nomita was a director, of course. If I'm talking 97 onwards, till I was there, and large part of my life, like the last 5 years, I worked mostly with foreign directors. So the other than Nomita and Sheila, who was of course a producer, those were the two big names. The names which were on the table were mostly, I would say, they were all male directors. Why? Not sure. But eventually, I think now it's getting much more like, I think women are just taking that step and they're coming into direct. They're comfortable. It's not about gender, it's about talent. So it's about they're feeling the need to direct. They have the vision to do that. They're going to film schools. More and more girls are going, and they're coming back equipped 100% to kind of take on the leadership role, to be the captain of the ship. Yes, technicians we still don't have, and that's something I really want to personally also work with. More women DOPs, editors, uh, music directors, which we're still struggling. While if you see in the hair makeup production design space, yes, pretty much it's getting kind of populated by women, and they do their work in a certain diligent, very, very meticulous, beautifully put together. So while it's a labor intensive, like PD, for instance, is very labor intensive, and they are actually the leader of all these 100 men at work, but they're doing a fine job of it. And that's something which I always try to get a woman through, but not always possible to do it because the numbers are still kind of trickling in.
Right. So tell me, if you get a script that sort of has got elements of sexism or gender bias in it, do you take such a script on?
Uh,
Have you faced that dilemma? What do I do?
Um, haven't faced that yet, but if it was to kind of come in a positive way, if it's woman empowerment, I'll take it on. But if it is not, I'll give it a miss.
Right.
Politically correctly, give it a miss, and just say that okay. I don't want to be somebody who is yeah. You cannot be showing things which are not correct.
Okay, now I'm going to sort of end with a question which I hope the answer inspires. If you meet a bunch of 23-year-old women, girls, and you know, they said they wanted to get into advertising or into your business, would you say yes, it's a good idea? No, it's not a good idea. What would you say?
Absolutely good idea. I think get into it and get into it with heart and soul. And I don't think anybody will stop them because it's finally an industry which is about communication and talent. If you're talented and if you're ahead of the pack, nobody can stop you. So it's not about being political, or it is not about gender. It is if you're a fantastic writer, if you are a great storyteller, if you have the eye to be a fantastic director, you will. So I don't think, while yes, it's clouded and all the conversation seems to be like, okay, the boy club is a kind of recruiting boy club, or but I think still, if you stand tall and just follow dream, just do your good work and keep doing that, I don't think people will stop. You can't be stopped. I think it's the case in uh, every industry. If you're good and you put in your 100%, you will show.
Okay, I'm going to end with a request. On the show, can we put your email ID and ask young women that if they face challenges in the workplace that they don't know how to deal with, can they write to you for advice?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Happy to answer all their queries if they're feeling down, if they're feeling they need some help, any mentorship, anything. Happy to help. And I always say, why sport boys? We will be sport girls soon. Industry filled with women, and it's not women. It is about talent versus talent and only talent. And I think uh, they're extremely talented, diligent, hardworking, and yeah, meteoric rise for tomorrow.
Yes. Thank you so much, Sohini. Thank you.
Thank you.
And that was Sohini Dasgupta sharing her journey and the increasing opportunities for women in the industry. Like we mentioned, if you would like to contact Sohini, you can email her at show@bigmama.in. Our next conversation today is with Suparna Chatterjee, producer at the Electric Dreams Film Company that has produced memorable ad films for a variety of brands including HP Printing, Parachute Advance and Bose among others. Let's get ready to melt with Suparna Chatterjee.
Morning, Suparna.
Good morning, Anant. Thank you for inviting me.
So, we are trying to understand the challenges and opportunities for women in our business of advertising, media, and marketing. And you made a mark for yourself. You're an independent producer. So, what I want to check with you is, what are the challenges you've faced in making a mark for yourself? Has it been an impediment being a woman, or does it not matter, or has it helped you?
Anant, I've been working now for almost 25 years. And, when I started 25 years ago, there were not so many women in direction and production. You see a lot more women in the business today than so many years ago. And I started at 22, straight out of my post-graduation. And there were challenges. I did get asked questions like, are you single? Do you live alone? What do your parents feel about you being out all night? I don't believe that these questions could have been asked to any man working in the organization. And even at 22, I knew that those were not okay to ask. So those were very, I would say, initial challenges. And I always, I pushed ahead and I made it through. But I know that there were certain challenges. And I also always believed that as a woman, I worked harder. I had to work harder than my male colleagues to get the same due, to get the same recognition. I just do believe that women do work harder for the same thing. And those were very initial challenges. And of course, I don't really need to face them anymore, but I did have them. And I think women are very resilient, they're very strong. We have many skills like multitasking. And I think that really helped me and that pushed me ahead.
So, where were these pushbacks from? Was it from the ad agency system, or was it from the marketer system, or a mix of both?
It's a mix of both. I mean, everywhere you went, it was within an organization that you were working for, which was, and either whether it was an ad film production house or it was a client's office, there is a bit of a difference. And both sides, I would say. And, you do notice certain things like your male colleagues' hands are, shaken, but not yours. You're greeted with a hello. The small things, Um, eye contact is not made often. But as I said, these were very initial days, and I've moved past that many years ago. But I do remember it.
Sure. So, how different is it today, 25 years on? How different is it for you, and more importantly, for women in general? Suppose there's some other 22-year-old
Yeah.
girl trying to break through. What are the challenges are they the same challenges she'll face, or is it different?
Anant, I think, when I started 25 years ago, as I said, there weren't so many women in direction and production. Of course, we were there and we were in most departments, but the numbers have increased a lot more, and I can see it year after year after year. And like when I used to go on outdoor shoots earlier, Rajasthan, Ladakh, Himachal, I'd even I would be the only woman in a unit of 100, men. And I would struggle with basic things like, where can I go to use the loo? Because, you know, that never occurred to people that there is a woman here who's not going to be going into the great wide open like us. I think it's definitely easier because there are women in every department which I didn't see before, whether it's art, costumes, direction, production, makeup. Women are in all departments, cinematography. So it is easier today. Of course, some challenges will always remain, but I think it would be easier. And as I spoke to you earlier, I've also moved to doing long formats. And I did my first web series in September. And you asked me, do I face any challenges today? And I did go to meet a producer who happened to be female on like a first meeting for this web series. And one of the things which was quite surprising was the series of questions she asked me. She asked me if I had kids. And when I said I had twins, she said, don't you think it's not going to be possible for you to work? So,
Right.
I was very surprised by that because after 25 years of working, I don't expect questions like that.
Right. That's interesting. We interviewed Sneha Iyer a few days ago,
Right.
and she said something quite beautiful. She said perhaps one of the reasons she's done well is her upbringing. The freedoms that
Right.
she had at home, the confidence she got from
Yes.
home, and so on. So, how would you
Yes.
react to that?
I completely agree. The thing is, my father had been in advertising for, 35 years. So I was also exposed to it. I was exposed to a working culture. I was exposed to feminism very, very early, and I think there was no difference between my brother and me. So we both had equal opportunities, equal education, equal exposure to the arts, and I think that made a lot of difference, coupled with the fact that I went to a very strong feminist college. I think that also helps. And in fact, Sneha and I from the same alumni, and I think that also molds you to being a leader, to being a feminist, to being who you are, to being strong.
I'm making you represent the women in the production industry. What is the role you have in helping it uh, become easier for young women who want to join this industry?
I very early on in my career, unfortunately, learned what not to do, how not to behave. And I see myself now as a nurturer. So I've had, interns from NID come to me for like almost 20 odd years now. And when they come to me, I nurture them, I help them grow, I teach them. And I also tell them what to watch out for, how to be careful. And I don't just do that for interns, I do it for women across my productions, across my units all the time, where I feel that, they need to be guided or they need some help, they need some support. I see myself as a nurturer.
Right. So tell me, what do you think the senior most men of this business should be doing to make it easier for the young women who enter this business? Are they doing enough, or should they be doing more? What should they be doing?
I don't think it's so bad, honestly, because I don't see the kind of people I work with now, and the kind of person I've worked with for the last 21 years now is equally supportive of a man and a woman. So, the director I've worked with. So, yes, I mean, I think that you have to support, and you have to treat women as equals. You just need to be treated as equals. And I think that does happen. That
Right.
does happen.
Right. So now, if you came across, you spoke about your NID graduates and so on. If you came across a group of young 22, 23-year-old women, and they said they wanted to enter advertising or enter TV commercial production and so on, would you encourage them? Would you deter them? What would you say?
I would definitely encourage them. I mean, advertising teaches us a discipline and detail that I haven't seen anywhere else. And now that I've moved to doing something else, I know what it's taught us. And I'm always grateful for that. I would definitely encourage it.
Right. So now I want to ask you, suppose you were given a script today which shows women in a kind of sort of regressive light. For example, a housewife who's also an executive, but she does the cooking, or she's subservient to her husband. Would you take on a script like that?
I wouldn't say no to it, because any script that comes to us, we make changes to.
Right.
So I wouldn't work on a film that shows a woman in a bad light or shows a woman subservient. I don't have a problem with women cooking if men are cooking too.
Right.
They're sharing the load. So that's not the problem. But showing a woman as subservient is not okay. And if the script came to me, my first thing would not be to reject the script, but to see how I could change it.
Right.
I think that's important, and that communication is important. So you go back to your agency, you go back to your marketer and say, this is how we can change the framework of it. And if they still don't accept it and they say, no, that's not our target group, that's not the women we want to address, that's not the men we want to watch the commercial, then we don't do it.
Okay.
But we've reached, after so many years, we've reached the position to be able to say no.
Now, before we close, I want to ask you, is it okay if we share your email ID so that young women who want to reach out to you can reach out?
Of course.
Yeah. So
that does happen, and I'm always open to it.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Suparna.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
And those were some interesting insights by Suparna Chatterjee about the challenges women face and how they're creating a space for themselves in the industry. If you'd like to get in touch with Suparna, you can email her at suparna@electricdreamsfilm.com. With that, it's a wrap on this episode of Melt. Do follow us on social media. Our handle is Ready to Melt. You can also keep a tab on all that's happening in the world of advertising with our daily Melt updates on our website, readytomelt.com. I shall see you next week, same time, same place. Goodbye.